Hello friends. Is Jesus mentioned in the Old Testament of the Bible? Welcome to today's discussion. We're going to talk a little bit about Jesus Christ and His role and mission and life and the accounts about Him in the Bible, but specifically in regards to whether or not He was mentioned or discussed or talked about in the Old Testament of the Bible, the thousands of years leading up to His ministry during His lifetime. For centuries, Christians have looked to the Bible for a better understanding of His life, His ways, His mission, His death and sacrifice in our behalf. And while the New Testament is rich and full of accounts about His ministry, about His life, and about the reason for which He came, many Christians are confused or disappointed when they don't seem to find the same clarity, the same robust accounts of Jesus Christ found in the Old Testament. Now, part of the reason for this is just a better understanding of what the biblical text is. It's not one book written from beginning to end like you would a novel. It is a collection, library of books, so to speak. Now, I should be clear. The name Jesus Christ, or Jesus, as it is given in Greek, is not found written that way in the Old Testament. However, there are many prophecies about His life, His mission, and what He did on behalf of us. And there are, in fact, names which they themselves are prophetic of the ministry that He would perform. Now, the name Jesus in Hebrew is just Yeshua. It is Joshua, and it means salvation. It means salve, a healing ointment that you would put on your hands if you had a crack in them. And Jesus came to offer this healing balm, this healing salvation to humanity. And so His name, the very name by which He was known in mortality, is prophetic of His mission. And we find these similar types of prophecies riddled throughout the Old Testament and the different books and writings found within its pages. I'd like to share with you several examples here today, but please understand that whether it's through transcription or through error, or whether some of the narrative was altered or adjusted, we don't find the specific name Jesus Christ mentioned in the Old Testament. Let's start with Isaiah 7. And I like to start with Isaiah because Isaiah's very name, Yeshayahu, means Jesus is Jehovah, or rather, Joshua is Jehovah. Now remember, the word Jesus in Aramaic is the equivalent of Joshua in the Hebrew text. So Isaiah's name is very similar to Jesus' name, but he's writing 700 years before Jesus. And in his text, in chapter 7, he says, "Therefore the Lord Himself shall give you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel." Now, Emmanuel means God is with us. And for Christians the world over, they understand in this scripture that Jesus was born of a virgin mother, and that when He was born, God was in our midst and was living upon the earth, that this was the condescension of God, so to speak. While we're in the book of Isaiah, let's go to another section, 53, that's often called the Suffering Servant section. And this really captures the end of Christ's life when He was suffering on our behalf. It says in verses 5 through 7, "But He was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon Him, and with His stripes we are healed." Do you sense the mission of Christ in that? Let's continue. "All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned every one to his own way, and the Lord hath laid on Him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed, and He was afflicted, yet He opened not His mouth. He is brought as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before her shearers is dumb, so He openeth not His mouth." And when we go to the New Testament account of this, we see that when He is taken before Pilate, He went stoically, and He did not open His mouth except for when He was requested to speak. Several decades later, Jeremiah similarly prophesied of Christ. Here's what he said. "Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will raise unto David a righteous branch, and a king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth. In his days Judah shall be saved, and Israel shall dwell safely. And this is his name whereby he shall be called, the Lord our righteousness. The Lord, our righteousness, of course, is a title, not a name, right? And one of the ways in which we can understand the many prophecies in the Old Testament about Jesus Christ is to look for titles that have reference to the life and ministry of Jesus Christ. And this is what many Christian scholars do in order to find Christ in the pages of the Old Testament. So one key to finding that is to look for titles that may reference the life and ministry of Jesus Christ. When we do this, we find hundreds of prophecies found within its pages, and it's really quite an exciting read to find Christ everywhere throughout the pages. Now, I should be clear that when I say Christ, Christ means Messiah. It's not Jesus' last name. It's a role that he played on our behalf. So when we say Jesus Christ, we're not saying a first name and a last name. We're saying Jesus the Christ, or the Messiah, or the Anointed One. So this title has reference to what Jesus came to do for us. If we were to be calling him in a familiar way, we would say Yeshua bar Joseph, Jesus bar Joseph. Other Old Testament scriptures about the life of Jesus can be found in Micah, for example. In Micah it says, "But thou, Bethlehem Ephratah, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee shall he come forth unto me, that is to be our ruler in Israel, whose goings forth have been from of old, from everlasting." So you see in this one that a great ruler will come out of Bethlehem. Now I'm not sure how meaningful that was in the days of Micah, but because we know that Jesus came from Bethlehem and then became our spiritual ruler, we can see the prophecy that was contained in those scriptural texts. This one is found in Psalms. Now, Psalms was quoted by Christ more than almost any other book of Scripture, and he referenced it in many of his teachings and in many of the conversations that he had. This particular scripture in Psalm 22 really speaks to the end of his life. It says, "For dogs have compassed me, the assembly of the wicked have enclosed me. They pierced my hands and my feet. They part my garments among them and cast lots upon my vesture." I mean, this is word for word the account that is given in the New Testament. I encourage you that as you read the New Testament, the life and ministry of Jesus Christ, that you look for these prophecies, these titles, these roles that Jesus, that point to the life of Jesus in the Old Testament, that point from the Old Testament to the life of Jesus as found in the New Testament. In summary, the Greek name Yesu does not appear in the pages of the Old Testament. Its counterpart, Yeshua, does appear there. Literal names of individuals such as Isaiah, Josiah, Hosea, and Joshua of old. These appear in the Old Testament, of course, and in many ways they are prophetic of the role that Jesus, who appears in the New Testament, would one day perform. But the roles and the titles and the mission of Christ are found riddled throughout the pages of the Old Testament. And I encourage anyone who's interested in mining the Old Testament to look for these titles, these roles, these missions. It really will expand your experience as you go through the Old Testament. And you will come away with an appreciation that Jesus really is the Christ, the Messiah, the Anointed One who came here to save us all. Now, if you like this content, I'd like to direct your attention to some of our other videos about what does the Bible say. For example, what does the Bible say about prophetic dreams? If you want to know, click right here to learn more.